how do you think ADHD helps in creating your content?
Oh, it's the reason why I can't create my content. I think one of the things that my ADHD has put in me, and whatever, I don't know how to say that, is everything has to have a why behind it. I need to know and have an explanation for something if I'm going to do it. And if you want me to do something, you're going to have to do the hard work of making sure you can explain the why to me. And that can make me really annoying sometimes. And I know that.
I get it. If it's not your vision and it's someone else's vision, you need to have the belief.
And if you can convince me of that, I am the best person to have on your team. I won't stop until it gets achieved. That's been a big leverage point for me in the content that I create. I have a really clear why. And that's why every day I can wake up and be like, it's a side job and it takes extra time outside of my normal job, but it's worth it.
Welcome to Successful with ADHD. I'm Brooke Schnittman. Let's get started.
Welcome, everybody, to Successful with ADHD. Today, I am joined by Mr. Philip Lindsay, a special education math teacher. Hey! Very relatable, as I'm sure you could see. He's a comedian. He's a Gen Alpha translator. It's great to have you here, Philip. Very excited for today's episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm very excited to be here. I love talking about all things ADHD and what it actually looks like. So
Yeah. So I know you and I were talking when we first got on here. I have two middle schoolers who have ADHD, and they're constantly, well, they're not as much anymore, but they used to say, bruh.
yeah.
and I'm like, are you saying Brooke or are you saying bruh? And is that still like a thing that people are doing, or no, that's out?
It's still in. It's like, that's one of the more timeless ones for sure.
Yeah.
But it's usually at this point, the only time I usually hear it is like in moments of disgust. Like, bruh, why would you make me write my name on this paper? Like that kind of moment.
Like rude.
So, yeah. How dare you, bruh? Like that's that's usually when I hear it. So it's
Oh my
found
gosh.
its little niche there.
Okay, so if I hear it like addressed to me, I know it's not a good thing at that
It's
point.
probably more of like a, come on, mom, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. Also, I used to teach special education math too. So I have a lot in common with you, ADHD, myself. So this is going to be a good conversation, a really good conversation.
I'm excited. I'm even more excited now. I had no
Even
clue.
more. So, Philip, when did you first discover you had ADHD?
So I'm 30 now. I was diagnosed at the ripe old age of 27. So
whoa, so it's like fresh.
I lived a lot of life with it under the surface, and which I wish I hadn't in a lot of ways. Just kind of, going through life wondering why all these things that were so easy for so many people and all these systems that people were like, this changed my life and this changed my productivity and this changed how I interacted with my family, like never worked. And just kind of struggling with like, man, am I just lazy? Am I just not disciplined? Like all of those questions for so many years of my life. But there was, as things got stacked onto my life as I got older. So like going through high school, not too bad. College, holy crap. Marriage, holy crap. And then kid, triple holy crap. It was just more, as things got added, it became very clear that there's something going on here that's not just like, it's not a character flaw. There's something deeper going on in how I'm wired and how I can function and that kind of thing. So that was when I think around probably, so when my son was born, I would have been 25. So that's when I first started to like explore maybe what was going on. And in true ADHD fashion, it took about 2 years for me to actually kind of pull the trigger and act on it and go get things checked out. And and all that stuff. So
Yeah. And that was around COVID, no? That you had your
yes,
son? Okay.
yes. So 2020, right? Yeah. Summer of 2020, which added a whole other element of having a newborn. And he was actually in the NICU for about 2.5 weeks with lung issues,
Oh,
on
no.
oxygen for 2 months. So I was working from home, I was a youth pastor at the time. So trying to run a youth group during COVID from home. So there was so many other layers that just kind of went, whew, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. So that was kind of
Yikes.
that was the catalyst for actually pursuing some thoughts and some things that I had definitely thought and wondered about at different moments throughout my life. I could see kind of the trajectory, if that makes sense. And the trajectory kind of scared me. So I was like, I gotta kind of do something, because I don't want to be where I can see this might be going. So
Right. Because it's one
yeah,
thing to manage yourself, and then no one teaches you how to adult.
nope.
And then you get married. Oh,
Mhm.
first let's college, right? Then you get
Yeah,
married. Okay, now you have to be interdependent and attend to her needs while attending to your needs. And then,
yep,
then you're a youth pastor. So you have a lot of needs that you're
yes,
collaborating with. And then you
yes,
have a newborn. And then
yep,
it's COVID.
yep. It was
And
the
you're
perfect
seeing it
storm.
all.
Oh yeah. Oh,
There's no escaping it at that point.
no, no,
Yeah.
no. But that was, so that was kind of like that was the beginning of it wasn't the beginning of my journey, obviously, because I've been journeying through it my whole life, but it was the beginning of my known journey, if
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it, of
Yeah.
knowing that that's specifically what I was kind of working through and dealing with. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So once you 2 years later got the
Mhm.
diagnosis,
Yeah.
what changed for you?
Um, a lot. The biggest thing that I felt was relief. Um, I felt a lot of relief just because I am pretty harsh on myself at times. Just with like,
You're a perfectionist?
yeah, perfectionist. Look at that. So just a huge relief of like, okay, there's a reason why I lose my keys and feel extremely frustrated that I can't find them. Like, there's a reason why I feel like whatever has my sole focus is the best it's ever been, but all the other areas in my life that I have to balance seem to kind of fall to the wayside. There's reasons for this, and there's something that I can point to, which gave me a lot of relief. And then it gave me also a more defined approach to how to actually start to manage some things.
Hmm.
Um, Prior to the diagnosis, it was really easy to be like, well, you know what, you just got to figure it out. You just
Not
got to,
trying hard enough.
you're not trying hard enough, you're not disciplined enough, you don't have the right systems in place. Um, I had a calendar. I put stuff on my calendar. You know what I mean? There was reminders on my calendar that didn't
You had
help.
an agenda book.
I had an agenda book. I had a planner. I had tried every thing that works for people who are neurotypical. Like I had tried it all. So it gave me a lot of freedom to be like, okay, let's have honest conversations, especially with me and my wife. Like, let's have honest conversations about what are the things that I am really good at that I can make the best thing in our family, and what are the things that, in all honesty, no matter how hard I try, I will have seasons of good and seasons of not good. Let's be honest about those things. And what are the things, because I don't think it's not an excuse, right? So what are the things
It's an
that, even though,
explanation,
yeah, what are yes, I love that.
not an excuse.
Right? What are the things that, even though I struggle with them, you still need me to work at, right? And try and make progress in. And so that was like one of the biggest things, was it just clarified a lot of like our daily life, a lot of like our relationship with each other as a family.
Yeah.
Like, how were we going to function and support one another? Really, that's it. Support one another and have a full life together. So that's the biggest thing that changed. It also changed I mean, my self-confidence changed a lot. For a long time, I knew for me, I function best from like the hours of like 9 p.m. to midnight. Like that is just when it happens. Unfortunately, I still have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning
You have
and
an
do
early
my
rise.
and I have to because that's kind of the way the world's set up. There's not very many jobs where it's like, no, I think 9 o'clock's a good start time for me. But I had to start being okay with using my time during the day differently and knowing that I'm going to get more done in the 3 hours at night that I feel kind of locked in and focused than trying to like limp my way through writing an IEP in 15-minute increments throughout the
Yeah.
day. Like
No thanks.
I'm going to use those 15-minute increments to go take a quick walk, connect with kids, go out to lunch duty, play football. And then I'm just going to know that, and my wife's going to know that that means if I've got a couple IEPs coming up, I'm going to take the hours from 9 to midnight to crank them out quicker than I would, that thing. So I think that's one of the biggest changes is it's just allowed me to be okay with when I function best and set my life up in a way where I can actually function best in those hours, if that makes sense.
So you have awareness, you have acceptance, you know how to work with your
Yes.
ADHD brain, but like this is pretty good insight for someone who was just diagnosed 3 years ago. So how did you even recognize to lean into your strengths, to focus on your most optimal hours, to really connect with your family and fill that cup up too?
Yes. Man, I feel like one of my biggest strengths my whole life has been kind of self-reflection and having a good understanding of like what's going on the inside. One of my biggest weaknesses has been communicating that to others. And so I've lived most of my life very self-reflective, very understanding of what's going on inside and have drowned in it most of the time. Instead of being able to kind of use the people around me to then make sense of it. And so the diagnosis, I think, is what then allowed me to actually verbalize it to the people closest in my life. And that's where some of these pieces of advice started to come into play. Like my wife, she's brilliant. She can look at a person and kind of know how are they doing. And so for years, she would always know when I was kind of stuck in a hole, but I could never really verbalize it because it sounded like a lot of excuses is what it sounded like. I've got a really good friend of mine. He's older than me. He's highly successful in the financial advising world who has ADHD. And he's very, very wise when it comes to some of these things. So as soon as I got the diagnosis, I was like, hey, I need help. So he was a big piece of like, okay, well, when do you work best? And can you set your life up well to be able to do it that way? And what does your day look like? Do you actually have the energy in the middle of teaching to try and tackle these tasks and be a good teacher? If not, then why are you trying to do both? And kind of giving me that permission to be like, I can be a great teacher during the day without trying to shove in the IEP stuff. And I can do the IEP stuff later. And that's not going to change. That's actually going to make me a better teacher. So people really is where the insight has come from, and that diagnosis allowing me to actually explain and not feel like it was a deficiency or an excuse. Being able to finally verbalize it and have a name for it is what kind of started to bring these pieces together.
I love that. And you found your ADHD person, your mentor that has lived and been successful with his ADHD. So you leaned into your people, which is great. You found your community. Wonderful.
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now for the fun stuff. How do you think ADHD helps in creating your content?
Oh, it's the reason why I can't create my content. I think one of the things that my ADHD has put in me and whatever, I don't know how to say that, is everything has to have a why behind it. Like I need to know and have an explanation for something if I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And if you want me to do something, unfortunately, you're going to have to do the hard work of making sure you can explain the why to me. And that can make me really annoying sometimes.
I get it. I get it. Like if it's not your vision and it's someone else's vision, you need to have the belief, the opportunity,
Yes.
the urgency, the
Yes.
novelty, the challenge, the excitement.
Yes.
Like, tell
Yep.
me. Yeah.
And if you can convince me of that, I am the best person to have on your team also, because I won't stop until it gets achieved, So that's been a big leverage point for me in the content that I create. I have a really clear why. I have a really clear reason for why I'm doing it. And that's why every day I can wake up and be like, it's a side job and it takes extra time outside of my normal job, but it's worth it. And that why is that connection between adult and student, whether it's parent, student, teacher, and student. When I was in college, I did a project on the next generation. And at that time, it was like Gen Z were the teenagers of the time. And one of the biggest things that I realized in researching Gen Z was that they were the most connected generation, like online.
Technology. Yeah.
Technologically, but they were the most disconnected.
Loneliest. Yeah.
Loneliest interpersonally, right? And so that trend only continues with the next generation, with the alphas. My goal was, if I can find a way to leverage what they're already immersed in to create moments of real in-person interaction between them and their teachers and them and their parents, that's the best thing I could do with content. I can use humor to do it. I can use meaningfulness to do it. And so having that really clear why is what has set me up for, I think, success and longevity and sustainability. The other big piece, and I said the other big piece, having thought of the other big piece about 30 seconds ago, and it might be gone. But what was it? That's it.
It will come back, maybe. Maybe it won't. No, exactly. No, but I love that your why is to connect parents to their kids. And I'm sure your students and their parents are watching you on social media. So how do you balance that piece too?
Yeah. It's not super hard, especially in like the town that I live in. I live in a very small town. From my years, I was a youth pastor here for 7 years. Most of the kids that I interacted with as a youth pastor was a fairly large youth group for like the town size. Most of the parents and the students that I had in youth group, a lot of the kids that I now teach, it's their little brother and sister, that kind of thing. So there's already a connection point between me and just the broader community, honestly, which makes that all kind of easier to manage, because there's already a foundation of like, I'm not just like a social media influencer. It's like, oh, that's Philip. And he's finding some success in that. And that's really cool. So it's more, cool. There was a starting point of relationship. The relationship didn't come through the content, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. So the boundaries were already there.
The boundaries were already there. And so there was already a understanding of how I interact with parents in general. There was already these things, which I'm very thankful for. So now that the content piece is a part of it, it's pretty cool. And then like if I'm in town, like I said, very small town, I can't go out without seeing somebody. There's somebody that I'll see. But the most fun part, there's a big like retirement community aspect of our town too. And those people I didn't know as much because that wasn't kind of my group that I was working with. But now because of social media, I'll go out and there'll be this little old lady that's like, oh my gosh, you're so funny. And I'm just like, I love you. So that's another cool aspect of it. But there's no unique challenges with that, which has been really meaningful and helpful. So
wonderful.
But I don't know, I avoid a lot of Well, one, because it's not my experience. The district that I work for is really, really good, and very highly relationally focused. So I avoid a lot of the like typical like teacher problems that a lot of teachers deal with in districts that are less than good.
Mm-hmm.
And since that's not something that I feel, it's really easy to not, I love my bosses. I love my direct supervisors. My superintendent is phenomenal. Like, there's just so much good here that it's really easy to just focus on the things that are good.
I mean, you're at school right now on a day off. Like, that
Yeah.
says
Yes.
enough.
Yeah. And and it doesn't feel weird. It's not like, yeah.
Okay, so you're super relatable to your students. How do you feel that impacts their learning?
I think what I don't think people understand enough about adolescence, which is so weird because we have adolescent psychology and we have experts in the field, and the information is so accessible, and even on social media there's videos about it, and people will, like, as a broader population, like, agree with, like, oh yes, these kids have these struggles and it's hard and they're going through one of the hardest times in their life. But then when push comes to shove, we don't treat them that way a lot of the times. And so it's this really heavy handed, like, kids are dumb and the future is screwed and, like, whatever. All that to say, as a teacher, you've got to understand that teaching is way more than just delivering content, especially as a special education teacher working with kids who have learning differences. So, like, my primary population that I work with are kids with ADHD, kids with dyslexia or dyscalculia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Specific learning disabilities and OHI, and some kids on the autism spectrum. So that's my primary population. They're kids who we refer to as a level A. So 90% of their school days in the gen ed curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
You would never know that they are struggling with a disability other than
Externally, yeah.
Yes, externally, right?
And not to interrupt you, but for those
Yeah.
of you who are listening, OHI stands for other health impairment. So that's
Yes.
the ADHD,
Yep.
autism.
ADHD
Right.
falls within that category. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. But the weight that all kids are carrying around through a school day, especially kids with learning differences, is massive. Like, I pulled my group of seventh graders who have been working with now for 2 years in math yesterday. Pulled them all into my room. They come in, they're like, sweet, we're going to work on some math, get ready for the state test. I was like, we're not going to do any math today. We're going to work on our mindset going into the state test. And the number of kids who have phrases, statements, sentences that were said to them as first graders and second graders about their math ability or their reading ability that are still lodged in their brain and in their heart and a part of who they are in a seventh grade, that's affecting their success. It made me so sad. And they're just like, well, and so I know I'm taking a long time to answer this question, but
No, this is gold.
as a teacher, there are way more, especially working with kids who have learning differences, there are way more roadblocks to their success than just their disability. And a lot of them are rooted in relationship, not good relationship. And so as a teacher, if I can invest relationally, I describe one of the things that I always described with, like, when I was a youth pastor, especially, and I had volunteer teams, relational stock, right? You can only challenge to the level that you've invested in, right? And if you have not invested relationally, challenge falls on deaf ears, and challenge comes across as mean, honestly. But if you've proven to these kids that you care deeply about who they are, you can challenge the heck out of them and they will respond to it positively. That's my approach. I know that I am going to be able to help these kids the most if I take time to connect with them to the point where they can believe Mr. Lindsay cares about me and Mr. Lindsay cares about my success. So when Mr. Lindsay tells me this is something very important to learn, even though it's hard, I'm going to find that something within me to learn it, even though it's hard, if that makes sense.
That's gold. That can really apply in any relationship, not just
Mhm.
teaching, your
Yes.
relationship with your spouse, parent to child too. It's that token economy, right? It takes 5 positives for 1 negative
Yep.
to counterbalance it.
Yep.
Gottman talks about that. I think that most people understand that. And at the same time, they're so stressed, right? Being,
Mhm.
especially in a middle school, you have
Yep.
hormones, you
Oh
have,
yeah.
lots of things going on, right?
Mhm.
And they want to connect with their kids, but now they have the state tests, like you said, that they are expected to have their children perform at a certain level or
Mhm.
else, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can tell you as a former special education middle school teacher, like your job is not easy. So for you to
Yeah.
take that time and make it a priority to connect and to
Yeah.
have that relatability means so much.
Yeah. It's hard at the beginning to know if it's going to work, but it works. And I
It
think,
does.
my career as a youth pastor, there was the same version of it, and I watched it work on an emotional level. So I think that set me up well to be able to take that risk, if that makes sense. But once again, I have a district who wants us to take those risks, who sees the value in it, and they don't just say it, they back it up. Like I've had my
Yeah.
principal walk in while we're playing Trashketball and all the desks are shoved to the side of the room and it's loud, and she walks in because it's loud and she's like, pass it to me, and I'm, you know what I mean, like,
Oh,
so
that's so
there's
cool.
just, yeah, because she knows and trusts that I'm also doing my job and teaching the content, teaching it really well, because it shows. There's data that's showing that it works. You know what I mean? You can't just have fun and not be good at your job. You got to do both,
Well,
right?
totally. So you trust the fact that, like, if your administrator is going to walk in and you're playing trash basketball, that they're going to support you because you know that they practice what they preach, their social
Yes.
emotional learning, and
Yes.
you have the data to back it up.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's nothing better than administration that supports their
Yes.
teachers,
Yes.
really supports them
Yes.
from the top down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Wonderful. So, thank you for that. So, has there been any challenges, do you think? It seems like there haven't, but any
Mhm.
challenges in being the fun teacher?
Mm, no, but it's how you set it up too, though. If you set yourself up as the fun teacher, it's going to come back and it's going to bite you. But if you set yourself up as the teacher who cares about the full child, that's where success is found. So, like the first couple weeks of school, we do fun things. But the biggest message that my kids hear from me is, I believe in you. My job is that you would grow. And if we work together as a team, you will grow. There's fun infused into it, but there's also accountability and boundaries infused into it. And okay, that's been my favorite thing about my content creation, is there's this false narrative out there, and I've heard it my whole life, where I'm generally a goofy person. I'm generally goofy, loud, impulsive with my words,
Sure.
and you know, um,
I get it.
impulsive with my actions, uh, different things like that. And then there will be moments of meaningfulness or seriousness that I really thoroughly enjoy and love to engage in. And I've heard this comment my whole life of, oh, wow, I didn't know you could get so deep, or I didn't know you could be so serious. And it's like, why is that a one or the other kind of thing in our culture? Like, you either have to be like the super serious, somber person that's the
Yeah.
philosopher, or you're the goofball.
Right.
Why
It's
can't
so
you be
polarized.
yeah, why can't you be a philosophizing goofball? Like that's me. And so that's one of the things I love about the content creation is I can show that a person can be both things. I can make a funny skit about the ridiculousness of middle school, and I can make a meaningful skit about some of the internal things that students are struggling with. So I don't know. Why did I start saying that?
Well, because I was asking about the fun teacher. So I
Yeah.
think that kind of went down this natural,
Yes. Yeah. So
explanation.
if you, as a teacher, believe you can only either be the fun teacher or the like teacher with good classroom management, that's a false like dichotomy that you're kind of believing. You can do both. You can set things up and set up a system that allows you, every kid that walks into my room, even when I get them, we do these intervention sessions, these
Mm-hmm.
reteach sessions. And so I get new kids for eight days at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And even kids that walk into my room having never had me, there is this expectation that they are going to be pushed and challenged, and that what I'm supposed to do as a teacher is going to happen. And they don't push the boundary. They walk in and they know, oh, we might have a little bit of fun at some point, but I know I've got to put an effort if we're going to ever get to that point, right?
Yeah.
And it's a paradigm or a pendulum that you've got to kind of, sometimes you're a little bit too far this way, so you got to swing it back a little, and sometimes you're over here, so you swing it back a little, but you just got to be aware.
But that's where that self-reflection in you as a teacher, right? So like not many people with ADHD have that metacognition. It's a skill that needs to be practiced, right? But you
Yeah.
have that. You
Yes.
pause, you pivot, you see the big picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So talk to me about like your favorite or funniest Gen A slang terms out there right now.
Okay. So this one's a little bit old now. And by old in Gen Alpha world, that's like
A week ago.
a week ago. So, but the one that started this whole thing for me, that made me realize, ooh, maybe adults don't know the words that they're saying and what they mean, was gyat, which is GYAT. What it means is a big butt. So like it comes from, if you see a big butt, you would say gyat damn, right?
Oh, like
And then
goddamn.
And so gyat is like an expression that turned into a noun. And so now it's just like descriptive of a big butt. And so anyway, that's the word. The first week of school, 2 falls ago, we do these things called social contracts where the kids and the teacher come up with words that they're going to agree to abide by as kind of the classroom culture, right? And I'm a co-teacher too, so I'm in gen ed classes.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
so I'm in gen ed classes, so I popping into some different gen ed classes, just kind of bopping around, and I see every time I walk in, there's a kid. Doesn't matter. There's at least one kid that goes, "Mr. Lindsay, look, gyat," and I'm like, "Why is that so funny?" Like gyat was on all of these social contracts. And the reason it made it on the social contract is because the kids said that it stood for get your act together. And so it's like, oh, it's a great thing to put on a social contract, get your act together. But as soon, like every single time I walked into a classroom, there was a kid like giggling about it. And I was like, this cannot be
what they're saying it is.
Get your act together is not funny. So like, what is going on here? And that started my deep dive into understanding just like the TikTok internet culture and some of the words flying around, some of the memes and all that stuff. So that is one of my favorites. Mainly, I mean, big butt's funny, but also mainly because it's what kind of started things.
That was like our badunk dunks, right? Like they don't say that anymore.
Yeah, they don't. I do every once in a while. But so that's one of my favorite ones. People got really tired of skibidi, but I really kind of liked it because it took on it has such a history. Like where it started and how it turned into what it did was I really liked that, nerded out on that a little bit. So I like that one.
Do you ever hear these kids like just belching it out, like screaming it, like skibidi, gyat?
Yeah.
My stepson used to be like LeBron James.
So that's one of the ones that's going back around is LeBron. But that's
no, make it stop.
The song goes LeBron, like that's it.
I thought we were done with that.
No, the memes will always come back around. Now, the interesting thing is, and this is the intriguing part to me, there's words slang words that mean things, but then a lot of it is just memes, like that are just being repeated. Like, oh my gosh, is that hyperpigmentation, or the 6'7" thing? Or
Wait, what is a 6'7"? Oh, it doesn't mean anything. It's just part
it
of a
doesn't mean
meme.
anything. It's part of a meme, and it's like 6'7". But then because it's a number, do you remember 21 when kids
No.
would be like 21?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it was like the same kind of thing, but since it's a number, they've basically found tons of different ways to ask questions where the answer is a number, and then the answer is always 6'7". And as a
It's
math teacher,
exhausting.
there's way more opportunities than like in English class.
Uh-huh.
It's like, what's 9 times 3? 6'7". No, it's not. Like, stop it. It's not 6'7".
Do you
So
put Gen Alpha stuff in your word problems as a math teacher?
I have actually experimented with brain rot math lessons a little bit on YouTube. I did one. I've got like 5 or 6 more scripted out, but I
Okay.
have not filmed them for kind of like a longer form, like actually helpful math lesson, but in the form of brain rot. So yeah, I do word problems with brain rot. And
What is brain rot?
brain rot is just the general umbrella and category that Gen Alpha lingo falls under, because most of it comes from memes and most of it comes from online internet culture, which is rotting your brain. And so self-admittedly, they call their own slang brain rot. So
Lovely.
yeah.
Um, so I used to be a co-teacher too. Do you tend, and this is no disrespect to, the general education teacher that you work with, and I'm sure you work with multiple ones since you're pushing
Yes.
in, you said,
4 different ones.
4 different ones. So,
Yes.
the kids are great. They might not know that you're the special education teacher, right? Like
Mhm.
you are but do you ever feel like they gravitate more towards you, or you have that challenge when you're in that environment with a teacher who might have been there for longer, who's a little bit older?
Mhm.
Sorry, I know
Uh,
this is a challenging question.
no, that's a great question. The best thing about my co-teachers, honestly, most of them are like my work mom. Like we've got that like dynamic with me, and so it's it's pretty fun. And there's even but there's times where it's like, Philip, stop it. Like I walked
Right.
into
Like you're
one
one
of
of the students. Like, go, no, no, no.
yeah, one of my co-teachers, but it's so fun. It makes it so fun, and it makes it, and I think they thoroughly enjoy it.
I'm
If you're
sure.
listening, if you don't thoroughly enjoy it, don't tell me. But
I have
one of my
rejection sensitivity. Please, please,
right,
please. You love me, right?
one of my co-teachers she has well, they all have really good classroom management, honestly, which I think is why it works. But one of them has like just very, very good classroom management. The mix of kids this year is very good at coming in, doing what they're supposed to. Like they're on it. And I walked in the other day, and I was talking to my co-teacher, and I was like, man, why are these kids so lame? Like there's nobody to like get off task in here. And she's like, no. And I was like, I'm gonna go try. And so I literally, and she was okay. She's like, yeah, go try. Let's spice things up a little bit. And so I literally like roamed the room, like knocking a kid's water bottle over,
Stop it.
half closing their Chromebook screen, like hitting Control T on the tab.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know. I'm a menace,
No, but it's
but it's
nice
fun.
to like not be so serious in
Yes,
a class that can be so difficult for kids,
yes,
especially with
yes,
dysgraphia.
yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And so the cool thing is and I've worked with all of them now for at least 2 years. Some of them for 3. So that's not what it was like
So
the
you
first.
loop with them. Okay.
And so we've now gotten to the point where we have enough of a relationship. We've built a relationship between each other to where some of those things can kind of happen. And the other big thing that we've learned how to do really well is the ADHD. Oh, I've got a thought kind of thing. Like they're teaching. It's their turn to be up at the board, and something pops into my mind.
parking lot.
Yeah, and I credit them a lot for this. They have learned what I look like when I've got a thought. And it's happened enough that they know, okay, this is going to be helpful and beneficial for kids. And they'll say, Mr. Lindsay, you got anything to add on that? Like they'll
Nice.
like we've built that relationship where they can kind of now read me and know that, oh, I've got something like that was not in the plan, but it's off the cuff a little bit, but it usually leads to some good connections for kids.
So it works.
But it works. Yeah.
I love that. Do you find, and you're in math, so it's probably not as clear as in an ELA class or social studies, but there is still writing in math.
Yes.
Do you notice that the slang is being used in their writing? And then, of course, for state tests, there's a little bit of a problem.
Right. I think most of them, and that's the thing that I think about this next generation, everybody kind of has this like not everybody, a lot of people that I encounter online have this like doomsday approach and thought process, but they weirdly, in some ways, they have no boundaries. They have no, like the things that they will ask you about, I would never have asked my teachers. Like they have no boundaries in some areas. But then in some other areas, like they have an understood boundary of like, okay, it's an academic piece of writing. They didn't give me permission to use brain rot. I'm not going to. But there's other moments where you can be like, and feel free to use all the brain rot you want to answer this question.
Oh,
You know
I
what I mean?
love that.
I mean, they pick up on some natural boundaries without it being explicitly told to them. So we haven't run into that a bunch, but then there's times where you give them permission to, and the stuff that they produce is hilarious. Like there was
I can't wait to hear this.
gosh, there was a little enrichment that somebody did. Listen, 8-day enrichment while we were doing our reteach, and she wanted them to do a creative writing, like flip book story, children's book, and they were allowed to use brain rot if they wanted to. Are you familiar with Tuah that went around?
Yeah, the girl that spit. Yeah.
Yeah. So one kid, one partnership.
No.
There were two girls, one partnership, created a book called Hawk 1, Hawk Tuah, Hawk Red, Hawk Bluah. And
like Dr. Seussing the Hawk Tuah.
Dr. Seussed it, and it was a red hawk and a blue hawk, and there was two of them.
I'm dying inside.
There was some spitting involved, so it was insanity. But it
for
was
all you parents listening right now, do not share this part with your kids.
No. And so there was like, but they also so subtly did it that if you did not know, then you did not know.
It's just the red hawk, blue hawk.
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
What
did you do with that? There was no show and tell with that.
There was no show and tell. It got confiscated, and then the admin and a couple teachers had a good read and laughed about it. But
oh my gosh, that goes in your future book once you retire.
Exactly, right?
So good. Yep. Okay, so like when it's a free for all, right? When you can brain rot. Yep. No, there's no boundaries.
Let it go, right?
Let it go. Let it go. Yeah. Oh my God, this was so much fun. I have some fan favorite questions that I ask the community who knows you very well. Like, please rapid fire me questions. So, is the coffee actually Jell-O? How do you never spill it?
What coffee? No, I'm kidding. I won't pull that move. I won't troll them anymore. It's very real. It's real coffee. I have lived, and this is very ADHD specific, I have lived my life like this. I talk with my hands. The number of times I'm sitting in a restaurant and my wife's like, watch out, somebody's walking by, because I'm telling a story and I'm like this. So like I have just it's scientific. It's centripetal force. Like you can take a bucket and flip it upside down. So if you find the right rhythm with the coffee, you're going to be fine. So
Wow.
I don't know. It's
And
real.
I haven't seen that one. So now I have to go
Mhm.
do a deep dive into your
Yep.
Instagram or
So I
TikTok.
only do it. It's only when I'm defining words. So anytime I'm defining a word specifically, I'll have a cup of coffee filled to the brim and
Oh.
I'll just fling my arms around like, but some people like myself wouldn't even notice that somebody's doing that. So you might have
Yeah,
seen it.
I was really yeah, probably. I was really focused on like, what does this word mean that I've never heard before?
Exactly, right?
That secondary focus was not there.
So yeah, it's real. It's not AI. It's not Jello. I've had kids ask if it's real and teachers ask if it's real. And so I've walked down the middle of the hallway with a cup of coffee filled to the brim just to prove it at school.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. So someone asked, how is each generation getting worse or better? I don't know.
Oh, each generation getting worse or better? I don't know if it's a worse or better thing. I think it's a unique struggles and unique strengths thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
framing it in that way. Like I'm a younger millennial. We had our struggles and our unique challenges that we had to face growing up that shaped who we are today. Like that's going to be the same thing. Like we had,
Totally.
I was in first grade when 9/11 happened. I remember 9/11. That as a generation shaped our upbringing and made us pretty security minded. It's just a natural result. So that led to some weaknesses in us and that led to some strengths in us, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, I think the bigger, more important question is not how are they getting worse or better? It's really being a student of the culture so you understand the things that are actually shaping them so that you can, if there is a point of weakness, you can have an accurate and effective plan for helping them grow in that, I think is what it comes down to.
I love that. And I think you've answered this already, but what's one way you relate to middle or high school students?
What's one way that I relate? I mean, I just be myself, honestly. But I think the brain rot is a good, funny icebreaker. And then I tell a lot of stories too. I talk about what things were like when I was younger and like in a humorous way and how we're all not that different. And they say, I was like, you think skibidi's like the birthplace of brain rot, then you obviously didn't grow up watching Salad Fingers on YouTube. Like, which I don't know if you're familiar with Salad
I don't know
Fingers.
what salad fingers are. I'm
But
like,
it's like the OG brain
I'm the
rot.
older millennium.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we, you think
But
brain
I
rot.
watched Family Guy.
Yeah,
So
so exactly, right? So we're not all that different. And
that's true.
there are unique differences, but based on, like I said with the last question, the cultural things that shape us. But I mess with them a lot, little pranks a lot. Like, I don't know if I should say this publicly. Yeah, I'll say this publicly. If a kid's being, and it's only kids that I know really well, if a kid's being annoying, it's like, stop talking. And they're like, why? It's like, well, if you don't stop talking, I'm going to pick him up and throw him at you. Like, it's just like little things like that. And they're just like,
But you relate to
know.
them, right? So they know that you're not being serious. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. And
exactly.
that's something a middle schooler would say. It's like,
Yeah,
keep doing that and I'm going to throw him at you. It's like, that's
right,
preposterous and it's absurd, but it's
right.
funny. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're relatable. So
Yes.
one piece of advice that you would leave parents, adults who are not Gen A, who are not Gen Z here today.
Your kids, your students, they want so badly to connect. They want to feel safe enough to share things that kind of are on the inside, like deeply rooted in there. And as the child, it's not their responsibility to create that space. Put it that way. They are figuring it out. And as the adult in the relationship, you need to be the one that kind of takes the initiative to create that space. And if you have spent a lot of years that you kind of regret not creating that space, it's going to take some time to get to that space where you can have those meaningful conversations. And that's okay. The other thing I would say is your words are very powerful, especially at a young age, and they will shape things that they believe about themselves for a long time. So choose your words carefully. And if you don't, be the example and the model of going back and taking care of that when you make a mistake. So,
Oh, so real. And I resonate with that so much. Thank you,
yeah.
Philip. Your humor, your heart, I can tell you bring it in everything that you do. So for those of you who are listening and want to follow you, where can people find you?
They can find me everywhere, pretty much. I've got TikTok, Instagram, Facebook for you older millennials and Gen Xers out there. I'm also on YouTube. YouTube is in the future will be more informative type stuff, teaching math to kids with disabilities, brain
I
rot
love
math
this.
lessons. Eventually, my goal is to have a full series on creating a classroom culture or a home culture of connection between adults and adolescents. So that's all in the works. Could be a year from now, it could be 10 years from now, but eventually that's what YouTube will mainly house. But yeah, you can just find me. Mr. Lindsay will pretty much pull me up anywhere.
Lindsay with an A.
Yes,
And
Landsay. Yes, yes.
yes,
And if
yes.
you throw special education on the end of it, it'll also kind of narrow the search. If there's some fake accounts out there, but you should be able to tell.
Imposters. Well,
So
thank you again for being on Successful with ADHD. It's a pleasure. For those of you listening, thanks for tuning in, and like, share, and leave a review.
awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Successful with ADHD. I hope it helps you on your journey. And if you need any additional support for you or a loved one with ADHD, feel free to reach out to us at coachingwithbrooke.com and all social media platforms at Coaching with Brooke. And remember, it's Brooke with an E. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.